Hey guys, Joe McNamee here again. Alright, so today the discussion is about convincing a seller to sell on terms. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is you can't. You shouldn't. You don't have a clue as to whether that seller should sell on terms or not. So I might want to back up just a little bit and go, okay, well here's what selling on terms means. Should they sell with seller financing? Should they sell subject to? Should they sell it with a combination of both? Should they lease it with the right to sublease it? There's many different ways of selling on terms. But the bottom line is you don't know and they don't know how they should be selling the property yet. So what you're supposed to be doing is getting control of the property with an option to purchase, maintaining control of this property, and then having your buyers take a look at that property and tell you what it is they have to work with. So the first thing you got to do is find out what a buyer has to work with, what their capabilities are. They may already have a pre-existing loan approval sitting there that they can just take advantage of. Now the property has to qualify. It's got to appraise if it's a conventional wisdom lender. But what if it was a private lender? They may already have a private lender or someone who's agreed to allow them to have an early inheritance on a situation. I was just talking last night with one of my students who is receiving an early inheritance that they have to pay back to a family member, but they're using that to actually buy a piece of property. And so we're coaching them through exactly what to do and how to do it. So you need to market the property, see what the buyers are willing to pay, and you have to be careful how you're doing that now, but see what the buyers are willing to pay for that property. Then go back to the seller after you know who can buy it with what means. Then structure the deal as to how you would be purchasing the property and then turning around and selling it to your end buyer. Now, all that's very strange to people when I say that, because the old school way, 2007 and back, was go out, buy the property, commit the funds to it, borrow the money, whatever the case may be, then do whatever repairs or improvements, upgrades to it to make it more valuable, then go out and market it for sale, maybe while you're doing the improvements, but after you bought it, and then look for a buyer and then see what happens. And hopefully you have a good finger, your finger's a good finger, or someone on your staff or connected to you can let you know their feelings, their gut belief on how quickly that's going to sell and for how much. Well, that day is gone. It will be back, but not anytime soon. 3 to 5 years from now, maybe. After 5 years, good possibility. But in today's market, you should be getting control of the property, finding out who can buy it, wants to buy it, and what they have to work with so that you can figure out whether it's a deal or not. Now, let's go back to talking with the seller, convincing the seller. If you walk up to the seller and say, hey, here's how you should sell your property, and you've just met them, you just started your relationship with them, and they know nothing about you or the system or understanding anything that's going on in the economy right now, most of the time you're not going to be able to explain it to them and get them to understand it. However, when you take control of the property and you have a ton of buyers come look at it, so in a real estate, realtor's world, there might be 10 to 20 buyers look at it in a year, potential buyers, whereas in our world, we'll have 30 to 50 buyers look at it in a weekend. And so when we do that different, we take that different approach and we have a lot of interest, a lot of people looking at that property, that lets the seller know that there's something different about us, and now they start becoming a little bit more trusting of our system by realizing that, hey, we do something a little bit different that's way more powerful than the average person just trying to get a property sold. So when we have all this traffic and all this different attention going on, and they're still not a person just buying it the way the seller wants to sell it, now they're a little bit more likely to hear potential ways that it can be sold and understand a little bit more that just because they love their property doesn't mean everybody's going to fall in love with their property when they see it and instantly write a check for the property or borrow the money and boom, it's done. So now you've built some trust, and you've even taken a look at and seen whether it's worth staying in that deal or not. If nobody wants to buy it for any which way, then be happy and thankful that I just kept you from buying it and then trying to find out if it'll sell or not. Okay, so that's what I was wanting to talk about in this video. Convincing the seller to sell on terms. That's the process that you should be going through. They need to be educated. They got to understand why a different way is a better way for their house to sell. If they owe more than it's worth right now, they can't sell it in the conventional wisdom world. Not without trying to lose their credit, get a loan modification, or just taking a risk on it getting handed back over to the bank, even though they didn't, their intentions weren't to do that. It might happen anyway when they go through not making their payments and putting it to where it's in default. So these are the proper steps to go through to help the seller, to help the buyer, and to keep you safe as the investor, making sure that you're not throwing money into a big open fire pit. Okay, take care now. Bye.